Dollar Tree surface that I painted blue. And it's okay. I mean, I'm sure I'll use it for something. So I think I want to put like a little white on it. So I use Waverly chalk paint. It's very inexpensive, Walmart. We like chalk paint because it covers really well. I have a recipe for a DIY chalk paint that you use latex paint for, and it works really, really well. So if you want my DIY chalk paint recipe, put chalk paint in the comments and I will message it to you. So what I'm going to do is just kind of very haphazardly add some white paint to this surface. And it can use up a little bit of paint depending upon what we're covering. So that's why I might sand it a surface with a rotary sander, because it will make the paint go further. I'm just adding a little water to it because paint seems a little thick. And because I'm only covering up the blue, it doesn't have to have really thick coverage. If it had a design on it, like from a thrift store, that was just something I wanted to completely cover up, then either I would sand it first and then use chalk paint, or I would use a lot of chalk paint that was nice and thick. And I'm just using a craft brush. Don't have to worry about using a really good brush. And the next step is what makes your project really turn out well. And I always wondered why all these projects that I would see on Pinterest or on Instagram, how did they get their projects look like that? And it's not a secret, but I guess people like to leave out the one missing ingredient. Okay, so it's painted, it's covered, and as you can see, or maybe you can't, it's a little lumpy. You see brush strokes, and that is the next magic ingredient. The next magic ingredient is, I'm just going to set this down so that I don't walk into it, because I am your messy master crafter. Okay, so here is the missing secret ingredient. A sander, a finger sander. Well, it doesn't have to be a finger sander. It can be any sander. I just like using this because my hands are such a disaster. I don't need help making them look any worse. So you could just take sandpaper and the grits. I still haven't figured out the number grits. Either it's lower the number, the finer the grit, or the lower the number, the coarser the grit. I still don't know. I just know by color. This is pretty coarse. And what you're going to do is sand your surface. And this actually has some staining on here. So I'm just using this for an example. And you're going to sand it till you don't see brush strokes. I mean, you don't want to take the paint off that you've just painted it, but you want to make sure it's, totally dry before you do this. These finger sanders, Michael's, well, I don't know if Michael's, Hobby Lobby does have them, Home Depot or Amazon. And you're just going to sand it. You can sand it in both directions. And that is what gives you that smooth surface that projects seem to have that mine never did until I discovered sanding. Now, if, let's say, maybe the paint you used was kind of thick, you might have to repaint it, and that's okay. You just take your paintbrush. Well, first you're going to brush it off. There's this stuff called tacky something, and it's on a tack cloth. And that's what gets all the extra little particles off. Now, this, you probably can't see it, but I didn't do a very good job, I think, when I first painted it. So I am going to repaint it, let it dry, and then resand it. And I think at that point, I will like how it turns out. So I'm just taking some paint out of my handy dandy Waverly chalk paint. And again, my DIY paint uses, oh crap, man, can't take me anywhere, uses plaster of Paris to make the consistency for the chalk, and that's what gives it its really good coverage. I don't remember the exact proportions, but like I said, if you want the recipe, just go ahead and leave me a comment, chalk, and I will be happy to direct message you the recipe. Now that you know that you want to get rid of the brush strokes, you can help yourself a little bit by just painting in one direction, and you won't have that much to sand when you go to